Coffee, give me life. I need you now more than ever. So recently I was asked to go on a podcast, and this is the first time that this has ever happened to me, and I felt incredibly honored and excited by the invitation. The podcast is called Intuitive Style, and it's run by Maureen Welton. She runs a Substack under the same name, and I highly encourage that you go and check it out. She chats about all things personal style and intentional wardrobe creation, and really just doing everything that you can to disconnect from all of the voices out there telling you what you should wear, and really just connect to that inner sense, that intuition of what you personally like and prefer. So it was such a pleasure to talk to her. I'll definitely link that episode and her Substack down below. But in our chat, she asked me a question about how you determine what it is that you bring into your wardrobe. And I thought it was such a good one because so often we can be so mindless about the things that we purchase. I feel like buying clothes nowadays is easier than ever before. It's almost down to 1 or 2 clicks and you can have it on your doorstep in a couple of days. There's nothing more mindless than that. And because of that, I feel like we have to be all the more intentional and thoughtful about not falling into mindless consumption. So I have a little stack here of all the things that I've purchased over the past few months, kind of like my spring new in, I guess you would say. So I thought I would just talk you through all of the pieces and also just share with you the questions that I try and ask myself in order to determine if something is actually going to be a good addition to my wardrobe. So these are all the pieces and also the sweater vest that I'm currently wearing. And then there are 2 things that are not pictured because they are currently being made. I guess it's a made to order company. So I'm going to chat about those too. So the first thing I'll talk about is these sandals. They're 100% leather. I purchased them off of ThredUp. I actually purchased everything off of ThredUp. This video is not sponsored, but ThredUp, if you're watching, I'm your #1 fan. Call me. It's one of my go-to places for online thrifting. These sandals are actually a replacement for these ones. As you can see, apart from being very ratty and old, they are also broken. They broke the other day when I was out walking. I was pushing the stroller and I guess my foot kicked the bottom bar and it just popped off. These are actually not Birkenstocks. They're kind of a dupe for the Arizona. I got them at Goodwill. I think they're universal thread potentially. But my last pair of Birkenstocks, I had the Arizona style and I had them for 12 years. So these were kind of just an interim for me. I'm going to stop showing them to you because they're grody. Those were just an interim shoe for me because I found them at the thrift store and I thought, let's just see how long these last me. Turns out less than a year. So in some cases, you do get what you pay for. I needed a replacement and I couldn't find any Birkenstocks in my size on ThredUp. Those go very fast. They're a hot commodity, but I did find these. They're by the brand Beak, which I had never heard of, but I did a little research. I always do whenever I'm thrifting online. I always look up and try to find the company and the specific style. I like to see it on people's feet or on people's bodies before I actually purchase it. So this brand is Beak. They seem high quality. The product is 100% leather, which I don't mind purchasing secondhand, and I really like the look and feel of them. The Birkenstock, or that suede sandal that is now down in the depths, it was definitely a more casual option, and this is slightly more elevated or fancy. It even has a little bit of a platform in there, I think about 1 inch. But because I already have a pair of Tevas that I can grab when I want to go out to the creek with my kids or kind of get grubby, I thought that it would be okay to replace those other sandals with something slightly fancier. Just slightly. Okay, so the first question that I always ask myself when deciding if something is going to be a good addition to my wardrobe is to ask, does it bring me joy? Now, this might feel very Marie Kondo and kind of after the fact, but you could kind of fill in the word joy with anything that applies to you. I think with this question, I'm just trying to touch on that instinctual and intuitive part of ourselves that just knows what we like. You see something and you like the way that it looks, or you put it on and you like the way that it feels on you. I feel like if the answer to this question is no, then it's not going to be a good addition to your wardrobe. I feel like that's pretty basic, but for me, it's a good place to start because more often than I would like, I'm looking at a thing to purchase because someone else liked that thing. I saw it on someone else and it looked good on them, and I thought, hey, let me click on that link down in the description box. But whether something looks good on somebody else is an entirely different question from whether you actually like that thing and if that thing is actually going to look good on you. So as much as possible, I try to separate myself from the feelings that I had about the piece on that other person or in that catalog. Do we look at catalogs anymore? You know what I'm saying? In the advertising image, and how I feel about that piece just on its own. does it bring me joy? Probably the main thing that you will notice about this stack of items and the piece that I'm currently wearing is that it's all knitted. Now, I don't know about you guys, but oftentimes the things that I purchase at the beginning of a season are not for that season that's coming up, but actually for the season previous, because I've just lived through that previous season and I have a better sense of my needs for that season than the season that I'm about to live through. So more often than not, I find that I'm doing my summer purchasing at the end of the summer, or maybe my warm weather purchasing at the end of the warm weather, and then my cold weather purchasing at the tail end of the cold weather. And it kind of works out because oftentimes these things are on sale, or when it comes to a place like Poshmark or ThredUp or even in-person thrift stores, that's when people are donating, right? They're decluttering all of their winter stuff at the end of the winter, and you can kind of get the pick of the litter if you're willing to shop this way. Coming into this season, I really wanted to add some knitted pieces, particularly ones that were sleeveless. So while this is technically something that can be worn in the cold weather, these types of pieces are also the kind of thing that can be worn in the warm weather too, depending on the material that they're made of, but we'll get to that. I got this sweater vest. I was immediately drawn to it because it was both a sweater vest, a sleeveless knit, and also because of the stripe and the colors within the stripe. And then once I clicked on it and did a little bit more investigating, I realized that it was 100% cotton, which is really important to me when it comes to knitwear. As much as possible, I like to purchase knitwear that is either 100% cotton or 100% wool. The next question that I like to ask myself is, does the item go with what I already have? So the little thought experiment that I like to do is to come up with at least 5 different outfits using the new piece combined with the things that I already have in my closet. Most of the time I find that the easier this comes, the more likely the item will be a good fit in my wardrobe. So with this one, I could immediately think of 5 different ways to pair it, and the outfit combinations just kept on coming. So that to me was a really good sign that I was going to love it and actually be able to pair it with the things that I already have. If I didn't mention, this sweater vest is Toast, which other than the fabric content, the brand is another thing I definitely do consider when I'm purchasing secondhand, just because I can't see the item in front of me. So if I know a brand's reputation for creating quality clothing, then that makes me feel a little bit more confident purchasing something sight unseen. Sight unseen. Any realtors out there? It just makes me think of those episodes of Flip or Flop. Tarek and Christina, they would go to these buildings and purchase things sight unseen. The drama. So the next piece that I added in is this knit from Marine Layer. It is also 100% cotton, and I liked it for a couple of reasons. First of all, the fabric content, the cut of the item, it had a little bit of a crop to it, and also just the pop of red. I've been really wanting to add pops of color into my wardrobe, and I've been doing that slowly but surely. If you've been following me for any amount of time, you know this. So this was a color that I was interested in adding. What do we think? I was also able to find this exact style of top on the Marine Layer website, which again, I like to do that when I'm secondhand shopping online because then I can look at reviews and see how other people describe the fit. As someone who's pretty tall, I like to see what the other tall ladies are saying. Or maybe there's a lot of more petite ladies in the reviews saying, whoa, this is way too long. That makes me feel more confident that it's going to be a good addition in that it will fit me. That's important. The next question I like to ask is, does this item fit my lifestyle? So something can bring you joy and it can go with the items that you already have in your closet, but if it's not something that you would actually wear in your day-to-day life, then it's probably not going to be the best addition to your wardrobe unless you're comfortable with having things in your closet that you're not actually wearing, which I can understand for certain items you might wear only to formal occasions or things like that. And those types of events don't come around as often, but generally we want to be using the stuff that we have, right? So the question is, does it fit your lifestyle? And the thought experiment that I like to do to answer this one, I like to pick 1 or 2 outfits from the previous question, and then I like to imagine myself wearing those outfits to events or activities that occur for me on a weekly basis. We're talking grocery shopping. We're talking play dates at the park. We're talking hot Netflix dates with my husband at night. We're talking going to church. These are the types of things. These are the type of events, if I'm being really realistic, that I'm dressing for. So what am I doing if all of the outfits that I created in the previous question can't actually be worn in my real life? that's not a good wardrobe addition. It can help if you haven't done this before to really think through, what are your days looking like? What are your weeks looking like? What's happening in a given month? And you can kind of block out. I've seen people do this almost in a pie chart format, and that way you can really visually see, okay, this is how many times I'm going out of the house. This is how many times I'm going to the grocery store. This is the level of casualness of those events, or this is how many times I actually need fancy attire. Just thinking through that type of thing ahead of time can really be helpful when you're in the heat of the moment and you see a piece that you really gravitate towards and it's sparking all kinds of joy. You know, you can think to yourself, would I wear this to the grocery store? And if the answer is no, and that's the only place that you go, it's not going to be a good addition. You hear that, Rachel? I'm talking to you. The next piece that I purchased is this one. I mean, talk about joy. Talk about joy. I've never heard of this brand before, Michaela Buger. And it even says here, hand knitted. Hand knitted. I came across this sweater vest on ThreadUp and it was love at first sight. It's 100% wool, and I looked up the brand and I could never afford this full price. Let me tell you that much. No siree Bob, but I am very, very thankful that I discovered it and that I came across it in the way that I did. I truly love this piece. Both of these vests, I really, really love them. Like, what? What? Truly just such a sweet piece of craftsmanship, honestly. And I love having that kind of thing in my wardrobe. And I want to slowly over time add things in that are of that type of quality. And of course, those things tend to cost more. And this did take a good chunk of my budget, a portion of my budget that I would not have been comfortable using on one thing if it wasn't an item of this type of quality and also of this type of joy feeling. Because something can be very, very high quality. Let's take a pair of shoes from the row, for instance. I'm sure that they are very well made, but the majority of the time that I see them, I'm not like, ooh, I wish I had $1,000 just so I could purchase those beautiful shoes. You might feel the exact opposite when you see a pair of shoes from the row. They might give you all the feelings because of their sleekness. There's lots of different styles of design which evoke different things in different people, and not all design, just because it is high quality design, is going to evoke those exact joyful feelings in you. And so I think it's really important that we're looking for pieces that are not just high quality, but also have that joyfulness, and the other way around. Maybe there's a piece that is really, really joy-giving, but just make sure that if it does cost on the higher end of your budget, or if it is going to require a greater chunk of change, that it has that quality to back it up as well. You know, you want both. The two pieces that I've ordered that are not here yet are from Not Perfect Linen. I purchased a dress from Not Perfect Linen probably almost a decade ago. It was right in the early years of my marriage, so maybe 8 or 9 years ago at this point. And I have had it and worn it ever since. It is not only incredibly high quality, but also the style of the dress that I chose allowed it to move with me through my life. I was not a mother at the time of purchasing it. I'm pretty sure I was 2 or 3 sizes smaller than I am now, and I've been able to wear it in every single stage. 9 months pregnant, breastfeeding, and all of the different shapes that I have been in between. So that to me is also something that is really worth thinking through when you're deciding whether to add something into your wardrobe. Are you having babies? Are you planning to have babies? Does your weight fluctuate for some other reason? I mean, we're human. Our bodies are changing all the time. Trying to think about the longevity of a piece of clothing based off of how it is designed can really help in determining whether it's going to be a good fit, not just for you right now, but for the long haul. So I decided to order another of the same style of dress. It's called the mama dress, but like I mentioned, I purchased it way before I had kids. I just liked the style of dress, and it is actually designed in order to be flexible with the sizing. So I purchased the same style of dress, but this time I got it in a different fabric. I got it in this bright orangey red color, and I also added 8 inches to the length. Another thing that is so wonderful about Not Perfect Linen is that they allow you to make, I think, up to 3 customizations on any of the pieces. You get to pick the fabric, obviously, which that doesn't count as one of the customizations. You just get to pick the fabric, and then you could order it exactly as is, or you could say, I want you to add inches or take away inches to the hem. I want you to add pockets. I want you to add a drawstring to the top of the pants. They have a whole list of customizations on the website so you can get an idea of things that they could do. But every item that you purchase is made to order, and you can customize it in a lot of different ways. So I got that dress, and I also got a pair of linen pants. They're in this style and fabric. I really wanted to add a gingham pant, so I loved this fabric in particular. And the only customization I did was to add 6 inches to the inseam. So I think that they come with a 24-inch inseam, and then I added 6 inches to that to create that 30-inch inseam that I needed. So those items are being made right now. I think that they'll ship in a couple of weeks, and I'm really looking forward to getting to see them in person. The next question that I like to ask myself is, do I have something already in my closet that gives the exact same effect as the new item that I want to add in? So often I feel like we are drawn to certain pieces, clothing items or accessories, not just because of the piece itself, but because of the feeling that it gives. Maybe we saw the piece on a certain person online, maybe we saw it in an advertisement, and we were just drawn to the overall effect. Advertising, which people online, they're advertising to us. It's just slightly more subtle, slightly. But all of advertising is appealing to the emotions. It's purposefully evocative. It's telling us, if you had this item, you would feel this way. You would feel laid back. You would feel effortless. You would feel powerful. You would feel calm. All of advertising is pulling on our emotions. And it's not selling us the piece necessarily. It's selling us the emotion that we think the piece will give us. So I like to ask myself, do I have something in my closet already that could give me that same feeling that I'm looking for, that could create an outfit that would be evocative in the same kind of way? And another way of asking this question is, does this new item add versatility to my wardrobe? Does it do something different for me than the pieces that I already have? Now, I'm not necessarily of the mind that duplicates are always a bad idea. I think sometimes they can be warranted. Some people are more inclined to duplicate dressing. They want to have 5 white t-shirts and they wear them every single day, and it makes sense for them to have more than one. I think in general, it's just important to be mindful of the feeling that we're going after when we look at a particular piece and when we're considering adding it in, and just asking ourselves if we already have something in our closet that will give us the same feeling. The next thing that I purchased is this sweater. It's originally from Madewell, and I just loved... Why plane? Why? I'm talking here. I'm gliding. Is that what she says? I'm gliding here. Great movie. Sandra, we love you. The thing that I was really drawn to on this sweater is the thing that you can clearly see, this collar. It has this little pointel detail. I don't know if that's exactly what it's called, but it has detail on the collar that I really, really loved. And I liked that the sweater looked almost ribbed across the whole front. It also is slightly cropped, not very cropped, but just slightly. I just really love it. Now you might be wondering, why, Rachel, would you add a sweater in at the beginning of basically the summer? I'm only going to get a month or two, let's be real, I'm only going to get a month of wear out of this before I have to pack it away. But like I mentioned before, I tend to have the best sense of the kind of things I might want to wear in the winter at the end of the winter. And then also when you are mostly shopping secondhand, which I generally try to do, you kind of just have to strike when the iron is hot. Sometimes you're going to come across a thing that you will be able to wear right then in the season that you're in. And sometimes you'll come across something that you may not be able to wear for the next 6 months. But if you know that it's a good wardrobe addition, if it's checking all of the boxes, then for me, I don't really have a problem with purchasing something out of season, storing it away. And then it's like a nice little gift that I get to open for myself come the new season. Is this a sentence that we're saying? Apparently it is. When the new season comes, you get to unpack all of your stored away clothing, and sometimes that might include a couple things that you've never even worn before. It's a little treat for yourself. Love a treat. So if you've answered yes all along the way, yes, it brings you joy, yes, it goes with what you already have, yes, it fits your lifestyle, then the next question that you need to ask is it in the budget? Because all of your answers could have been yes up to this point. But if the answer is no, then it's not a good wardrobe addition. At least not right now. If you really, really want a thing, it's checking all the boxes, but it's not in budget, then I encourage you to wait, save up, and then buy the thing. It's gonna feel like a much better wardrobe addition at that point. The last piece that I got recently is this sweater. It's from Cezanne. We're going with Cezanne. And I've always eyed it on their site. It's the Gaspard cardigan, I think is how you say it. Boy, I can't speak today, apparently. I don't know how to pronounce anything, but I like this sweater. And this is not typically the type of thing that I see very much on ThredUp when I am looking. I mean, they do pretty frequently have Cezanne pieces, but the knitwear doesn't stick around too long, I think is what I'll say. It's hot right now, right? Is it? Kids, tell me. Is Cezanne hot right now? I've just always eyed this cardigan on the Cezanne site. It's just never been in budget. I've never wanted to spend that large a portion of my yearly budget on a cardigan, but I think I got it for $40 on ThredUp, if I'm remembering correctly. So it had always checked all of those other boxes beforehand, but I would always come up against that budget question and it just never passed the test. And then finding it secondhand online, it's a yes. Okay, rounding up the list of all of the things that I asked myself, the next 3 questions are, did you just discover it? Are you very tired? Or are you very hungry? If the answer is yes to any of those 3, I like to wait just a second. This one is hard for me because oftentimes when I'm tired and hungry, my willpower is not so good. But whenever possible, I like to purchase in a clear headspace. I don't like to just discover a thing and immediately purchase it. When it comes to online secondhand shopping or thrifting in general, I don't do this on a piece by piece basis, but more in a categorical sense. So for instance, I came across this sweater vest, and yes, I had technically just discovered this piece, but I had been looking for the category of sweater vest. So the question of did I just discover it? It can also be applied to a category. Did I just discover 20 minutes ago that I like sweater vests? Okay, this is not the time to purchase a sweater vest. This is the time to wait. Wait and see if that desire, that interest, has any sort of longevity in your life. Do you still like the idea of a sweater vest a week from now, a month from now? Give it time to marinate, because sometimes these feelings, these desires, they can be incredibly fleeting. I know for me, I can forget by the next day that I wanted a thing. So if you just discovered that you want a thing, a category of thing, wait a moment. Even if it's checking all of the boxes, even if your answer to all of the questions is yes, I recommend waiting, just so you can be sure that that desire has longevity in your life. So if I have answered all of those questions and done all of those thought experiments, if I'm not hungry, if I'm not tired, if I have a clear mind and I really know that this preference has some longevity in my life, then I go forth. I go forth and I purchase that thing. Now, of course, I am not perfect. I do not do this perfectly, even 20% of the time. But this is just a structure that I have, a filtration system, if you will, that is designed to help me make better purchases overall. So not every bad purchase gets caught in the filter. Filters aren't perfect. Some things get through. I do make bad purchases. However, I think I make far fewer mindless purchases than I did in the past before I had this filter in place. Imperfect action is better than no action at all. So I highly recommend that you ask yourself these questions, or you set up your own system to create a little bit more mindfulness and intentionality in your shopping habits. You won't regret it. Who wants a bad wardrobe addition? Who wants to waste money? No one. None of us do. Of course not. If you have any intentional shopping tips, please share them in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't. I would love to have you stick around. And definitely check out Maureen. I'll link all of her stuff in the description box. Okay, y'all. I really have to pee. I've been holding it for you. But let me tell you, 3 babies in, it's not the same. Holding it is not the same. It's a far riskier affair. I'll just say that. We're playing roulette over here. With what? I don't know, but I'm just going to let you take the analogy, go with it where you want in your brain, and I'm going to go with it to the restroom. I wish you well.